What is up, everyone? Welcome to Speak Now Pro Wrestling. It's a girl, Denise Salcedo, joined by Robin Lundberg, and it is Saturday, November 30th, and we are here to talk about Survivor Series War Games. All right, Robin, I want to start off by asking you just like your overall feelings in regards to the show. Where are you at in terms of like grade wise? If you felt it was worth it, how'd you feel?
I'd give it a B, I guess overall. I mean, I thought the final match was really strong. I thought that the bloodline match kicked ass. I thought the Sheamus Braun Breaker Kaiser match was awesome. Those to me were the two standout matches on the card. I was surprised by the Shinsuke Nakamura LA Knight finish. I liked the end of the women's war game match, but I thought that match started off really sloppy. And then I guess my overarching problem with these matches is like, why? You're putting yourself through all these all these things and trash can moonsaults and splashes through tables without really incentive other than pride. So when it's all said and done, resolved, did I come away feeling like something major happened? No. So that brings it down a little bit, but it's boosted up by that triple threat and by the fact that the bloodline versus bloodline was a banger.
All right, well, let's go ahead and start there because that's the match that we just finished seeing, which was the OG bloodline with CM Punk, and then also the new bloodline. So this one was definitely more story driven. I think we kind of already anticipated that heading into the actual matchup. Like we knew, okay, this is really going to be about like how the hell are they going to wipe out this new bloodline? And also, how are CM Punk and Roman Reigns going to work together? Are they going to be able to get along given just everything that we have seen? And then coming off of SmackDown last night, which Robin, you and I broke down, just getting, I feel like last night, how we came off feeling last night was, oh shit, this Roman Reigns CM Punk match is happening sooner than we expected, right? Tonight, seeing the way that everything ended, I'm like, okay, I know Roman and CM Punk is going to happen down the line, but maybe not as quickly as we might have thought 24 hours prior. So let's kind of start with the Roman Reigns CM Punk dynamic of this because Roman Reigns did not let CM Punk walk out of the cage when it was time for him to go in there. And so we kind of saw this little disrespect from Roman first to Punk and then Punk to Roman. But during the actual matchup, an opportunity came where CM Punk ended up helping Roman Reigns not take a tsunami through the table and helped Roman move him out the way. And that was a big change up in the matchup because after that, we saw that CM Punk sort of, earned Roman Reigns' trust rather because Roman Reigns did not trust that CM Punk was really there to help them out. And the Roman CM Punk aspect of this ended with them in a handshake.
Yeah, that unholy alliance, if you will. And it's kind of funny because in a sense it's two-pronged because yes, it would have been more exciting and more fireworks if those two were brawling it out at the end and Paul Heyman, you didn't know who he was going to choose and everything. But I do think it is the right move to play the long game. I don't think you just bring this in because it just happened. The Punk and Roman Reigns dynamic is now 2 weeks old. And to like fast track it when it is something that you can tell a story with for months and months and months. So I do think even if it takes a little bit away from the impact of perhaps the end of Survivor Series itself as a one-off event, I think it injects a lot of energy into WWE storylines going forward because you can continue to have this dynamic that's gotten us so excited in such a short period of time play out over a longer period of time. And it would have felt rushed if you went right to Roman Punk right now. So I did like the way that played out. What did Punk enter first? And Roman was like, "What's up with that?" And the looks around for Heyman, the handshake that takes a second to happen. Heyman again giving us the seed afterwards, saying, or Punk says to Heyman, right, that favor when I need it, I'm gonna come for it. And then Heyman says, "You got it." So all those things are foreshadowing what's to come, as is the fact that they were so reluctant to trust each other in the first place. Because even if they don't become full on arch enemies, they can feud based on the fact that they both want to be the top dog, the tribal chief and the best in the world. as Paul Heyman put it. But I thought for the confines of this War Games match, it was actually told very well.
Yeah, that portion of it, I feel like, okay, now that, like I said, now we know it's not happening so soon, right? Like now we can hold off until SummerSlam, right? Because last night I'm thinking, shit, maybe this is going to happen at WrestleMania, right? Just because of how quickly we were getting there. Now, with the way that we ended to hear things tonight, I'm like, all right, we can stall for a little bit. We can wait until we get there because as of right now, Roman Reigns and CM Punk, they're not best friends, right? Like they're not going to go out and have lunch or anything like that. But hey, at least they're seeing eye to eye and there's this respect there at least for what they went through tonight with War Games. And at least for the most part, you can assume that this Friday night on SmackDown, they're not going to be ripping each other's heads or going at each other because they're at a sort of common ground coming off of War Games here tonight. So I feel like, all right, maybe this is going to be a safer assumption to assume that this match will eventually go down one of those nights, probably the second night of SummerSlam instead of a WrestleMania match. And then, of course, we still got to wait and see what happens with CM Punk and Seth Rollins and all of that. Speaking of Seth Rollins, no Seth Rollins, no Rock tonight. Were you bummed, disappointed? Did you care? Where were you at on that front?
I try not to set my expectations based on speculation. I do my best because if you sit there and go, "Oh, The Rock's going to appear," and then he doesn't appear, really, when no one has said anything about The Rock appearing, it's just conjecture. Then you're always setting yourself up for disappointment. So I like to allow the surprises to come organically. In that sense, Seth Rollins could have made some sense, but I thought the way they did it worked for this night as a self-contained event. So I've thought for the, since this jumped off that Punk and Roman at SummerSlam was the move and the play, build that way. And then what is the purpose of a 2-night SummerSlam? To make there be 2 WrestleManias. So once you do what you do in Vegas, you're going to put a lot of blockbuster things on. To have Punk and Roman still in the chamber is a big deal. It's the first 2-night SummerSlam. They're going to want that to go well. So that makes a lot of sense for me there, which means you can do Punk and Seth in the meantime, which we never actually got. But just because Seth didn't interfere here doesn't mean that can't be, that can be fast launch. And all you have to do is put those 2 in the same place at the same time. And you've got a feud between Seth Rollins and CM Punk. And it wouldn't have worked with the bloodline going over in this sense, the original bloodline going over. The Seth Rollins thing only works if he's costing Punk and or Roman Reigns or both of them. So if the idea was uneasy alliance, Punk and Roman, old bloodline gets the win over new bloodline, then it makes sense that we didn't see Seth.
Robin, I feel justified in this because I said, let's not have Seth get involved in this. Seth getting involved in this would just be way too much. And you know what? I'm so glad that they didn't overdo it and have Seth involved in this. I just felt like you're already going to be so busy with all of the people already involved in this War Games match and the dynamic of Roman and Punk. We do not need Seth Rollins in this particular moment here tonight. So I was actually glad that we didn't get a Seth Rollins involvement here. And I was so freaking thrilled. I was so thrilled that I got a little nervous. Right when they all the baby faces cornered Solo Sikoa. For a split second, I was like, God, I was like, please, let's let them all hit their moves and go about it and get rid of Solo and kind of go from there. I was so nervous because I did not want to see Solo Sikoa's bloodline win this match. I wanted to see Roman's team get the win, and they did. I want to talk about the actual War Games itself. How did you feel about like what you saw play out from the beginning with everybody coming in? I will tell you right now, there was one spot that I did not like, one part of this story, because I kind of thought it came across as a little silly, which was Solo Sikoa putting the chain on the door. Because I didn't like that it was all, how is Roman going to get in? And even commentary was acting like he was not going to be able to get in for a second. And I'm like, 1 second, and I'm like, dude, there's no roof in this. Like, Roman, just climb. So I kind of thought that part of it was a little silly, but everything else after that definitely picked up. Of course, you got a lot of the some of the expected spots that you were expecting with the West Side Story thing. They always do that every single year, but there were a lot of good moments in there. Love the tsunami splash. Jacob Fatu was insane, Robin. Jacob Fatu was a big highlight for me. Maybe the MVP of the men's War Games match. He was great. But what did you think of the body of the actual matchup?
No, I thought it kicked ass. And I disagree with you on the Roman spot too, because I thought I'm thinking to myself, oh, they're gonna have him climb, you know? 'Cause-
They're gonna make him do this extra work.
yeah, like Roman's gonna climb the cage. Are you serious? And then it even put in the little thought in my mind is no way Roman's jumping, right? So I was in a little bit of suspense there when that took place. And then everything else, I think you kind of hit on the head. The tsunami splash was money. The through the table spot was money. Fatu was money throughout the whole thing. And then the crescendo of finishes was executed basically to perfection. Super kick, haluva kick, go to sleep, spear, night, solo Sokoa, right? So I thought all that was done well. It was a chaotic symphony, if you will.
I like that, a chaotic symphony, because yeah, the last bit of them like just all hitting their spots, I thought that was really, really fun. But yeah, there were some things that I wish would have been tweaked a little bit, but for the most part, I thought that we got to the point where at the end of it, you're like, all right, I enjoyed myself. I had a good time. Of course, Jacob Fatu just being insane. Jimmy going off the top of the freaking Uso splash off the top of the cage. All of that was really, really fun to see. So overall, I thought they did a decent job here with the men's War Games match. Let's go ahead and get into the super chats and see what people are saying. This is from Matt Logan, who kicks us off, who says, "Hi, pretty good show, nothing great." I guess it kind of depends on how you look at that. We'll break it down a little bit more, of course, but we got Sheldon Jackson, who gifted 5 DWO memberships. Sheldon, as always, thank you so much. We have Bailey Darley here, who says, "For me, the best match was the women. A lot of them got spots, and then Rhea pinning Liv." So let's get into that one, Robin, because the women's War Games, I think that going into it, we all expected, all right, that's the one that's going to be crazy, right? That's the one that's going to have Io doing her signature spot off at the top of the cage. And we definitely saw that. She did her own branded little special trash bin this time. And she did it at the exact same time that Tiffany Stratton did her spot off the top of the cage, too. So we got to see both of those moments in sync there. But this was kind of madness in terms of just spots from everybody. I thought Io Sky, along with a lot of people, that Io Sky was the MVP of this match. I kind of wish we got in a little bit more moments for Tiffany Stratton, but still, I did think her entrance was really cool. I thought she did a fine job. There was some botches. I don't know if I should say botches, but there were some moments that didn't look so great for Nia Jax in particular. I thought that everybody obviously called out her chair shots.
The
That was
Hogan
one
chair
of them.
shots were bad, yeah.
Right. Those were not good. So unfortunately, you kind of gotta point that out. Bianca Belair, I thought was awesome. Naomi, awesome. Rhea Ripley with that look that she had, the mask and all of that, that was epic. Robin, how did you feel about what were your favorite moments from the women's War Games?
I thought at the end, well, the favorite moment to begin was Rhea Ripley's mask. That shit was hard. So you had that to start off. Then you had the stuff that happened at the end was good. Io Sky was the MVP with the trash can moonsault, the fire extinguisher melee thing going on, and there was a lot of good spots. I like the Money in the Bank tease too from Tiffany Stratton, but I did think the first, I don't know, I thought it was rough. To be honest, I got to tell the truth. I don't know how many different times you and I have sat here and talked, and I've said after all of these event matches, whether it's Elimination Chambers or Money in the Banks or War Games or Royal Rumbles, you have the conversation of which is better, the men's or the women's, and it showed that the women have gotten to equal footing. And that, of course, doesn't change because of one match. That remains the same. I only use that to set the context to say, in this instance, it fell flat because I thought it was beyond just Nia Jax. Nia Jax had some rough chair shot moments. I thought Naomi had a few spots in there early where it looked like the timing was off. Nothing like completely egregious, but just almost like everybody was a little out of their rhythm, right? And it just didn't hit right because of that, and it took you out a little bit because of that, because it wasn't one and you're like, okay, I'll move past it. It was one after the other, just a bit of a slop fest until they hit their stride. Then once they hit their stride, I think they were able to recover a bit to keep it from being one of those things where you go, oh, that was a total mess, to that was fine. And that's where I'll leave it with that match, because I kind of felt that way at the end. Like, all right, it was saved by the chaos at the end, but it was a forgettable War Games match in the grand scheme of things.
But I think at the beginning, though, one of the things that I did appreciate from this is that they went right into it with getting all of this going. Like they went right into the weapons. They went right into like this is going to be a fight. And that's what I did appreciate from the start of this War Games match was that they were treating it like a fight. So yes, you did have those mistakes. Even just like the moment where Io Sky came in and she had that, the spot didn't work out with her and Candice LeRae at the top. That kind of took away some of the momentum from that. But like you said, they did get it together. And I think the fact that they kept things moving along and they tried to have fun with things. I mean, doing a toilet seat cover, doing all the kendo stick spots, like everything that they did, I think was enough to try to like at least they at least in my opinion kept the excitement. Like I did enjoy the women's War Games match, even with those hiccups, even with those mistakes there. I felt like, okay, they kept it moving, and that's what I liked. And that they tried these things. I loved when Naomi did the stink face on Nia Jax with her wearing the toilet seat cover. I thought that was great. So it's like little things like that that won me over, where it wasn't to the point where I was watching this going like, oh my God, this stinks. Because I feel like there have been other instances where we have seen, these mistakes happen for some people. And it's unfortunate. It's I think always even more unfortunate when it happens in the women's matches because they are going to be judged to a different degree, of course. And it's always going to be like, oh, wow, do the women deserve this? Do the women deserve this? Right. And of course they do, because we have seen all of the work that they have put into this. So it's always unfortunate when you do see those mistakes and those botches. But for me, it wasn't enough to take me out of the match. I was still fully invested in all of the big moments. Seeing Rhea pin Liv, which Bailey brought up here, I love that because now I'm like, all right, this Rhea Liv feud, it should be done, Robin. Like this should be it, right? I mean, she got her win over Liv, and then she pins her in this War Games match. That's got to be it, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, the championship, no. I mean, that has to be
True, true.
decided.
Of course, her taking the title back, but
Right.
who knows? Maybe she doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rhea, is too big a character to not be wanting that a strap, right? So I don't know if it's completely and totally done. Advantage Rhea Ripley after this match, but I guess that goes back to my other point from the beginning is the War Games matches don't actually decide anything. So that's one of the, it's a nice thing for this PLE and an identity for this PLE. But maybe that's something for them to consider in the future because for every other event like that, there's something, right? Like Money in the Bank, you win, you get the briefcase, you get cash it in for a title shot. Royal Rumble, you win, you get the main event at WrestleMania. Even now at the Crown Jewel, you get the Crown Jewel championship or King of the Ring, you're the King of the Ring. All these things have something on the line, and this is just like time to settle the score.
We got Drew Ninja 77 who says Rhea just doesn't just have an aura. She is aura. Just simply a star at another level. I loved her makeup be similar to Buddy's with the red scar. Oh, hey, that's a really great little shout out that you made there. Dude, I love the mask that she wore. I thought she looked super cool. I love that she actually got to wrestle with it for a while. And then like even the coat that she wore, the entire thing. One of the things I had mentioned in my watch along, Robin, is that there are certain gears when you see that gear instantly it brings you to like a certain moment because it's just synonymous with that, and that was the one. That was the gear for Rhea Ripley that in like 15-20 years from now when we see that we're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's the one that Rhea Ripley wore to War Games because now it's forever synonymous with that. It was really great.
Yeah, it's like, what sums up how much of a badass Rhea Ripley was? That mask right there. I mean, it's almost her version of the Cody mask from WrestleMania. And when you see Cody wear that, it means he means business, and it just with the orbital fracture and everything, that was it was badass on a whole different plane of existence. And Rhea Ripley is there. She's it. We've had this discussion before. I think it's her and the man Becky Lynch neck and neck for not the greatest of all time, but the most over in a particular moment.
We got Infamous Murder Loco who says CM Punk Roman Reigns elbow leaning mean was awesome. Love the match. Real looking unbelievable. Getting that big riptide on the tables, man. Triple threat banger. Yeah, that riptide, man, that she did on Liv. Oh, that was clean, man. I love the way that turned out. We got Bailey Darley who says, "Happy birthday, Naomi. Hope you had a great day." It took me a second, Robin, to realize why she was wearing the little hat. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's her birthday. Okay, okay. Now I get why she's wearing it. We got Misha Simrad. Thank you so much to Misha, who says, "My big pitch for the World Heavyweight Championship is Gunther calling out Logan Paul for desecrating the sacred ring with sponsorships, a DWO for life." Yeah, there's definitely was a whole lot of it, basically all over the ring mat. Like that's just what we got. I don't know. I'm kind of used to it now at this point, honestly.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I'm with you there. When you you talk about a lot of this stuff and the sponsorships and Prime, I guess, have I ever told you about Prime?
No.
Or
In what sense?
in my first introduction to Prime, so it's almost like I remember I was at the pool, I was at the town pool, and the ice cream man was selling Prime, and all the kids were like, "Can we have Prime? Can we have Prime?" And then they came back running down the hill like, "We got Prime, boys! We got Prime!" And I was like, "What is Prime?" And I looked at the back of it and I was like, "All right, you can drink it." And then the other parents were like, "Have you heard this kills children?" And I'm like, "What?" And I went and looked that up and I was like, "No, they're kind of being unfair to look." I looked at the backstory. I learned it was Logan Paul's thing, and then I realized they're actually being a little unfair to Logan Paul because the Prime hydration ones don't have the caffeine and all that other stuff, while the Prime energy drinks do, but they look completely different. One is in a bottle, one is in a can, and it's a completely different product. And the kids even know the difference. But I saw how excited they were about it. And then when I saw the Prime, mascot stuff and the KSI stuff and how much my son enjoyed that, it only made it natural for it to be a sponsorship. And as long as the only ones that like really get me are like the Mountain Dew pitch black matches
Oh
of the world
yeah, yeah.
where it's like, all right, we get it. We know you're never going to do that with one of the real matches on the card that everybody cares about. It's always going to be like some designated match. But as far as the sponsorship itself, it is what it is. That's the corporate world we live in.
Yeah, I remember like when we first saw like the Prime hydration station, I was like, "Oh, what an eyesore." And now it's just like, "Oh, okay, it's just a thing that we see every week. No big deal." Eventually we get used to it, right? But Misha, thank you so much for the kind super chat. We got Chris Ludek is in the building. He says, "To me, the men's war game match had the best storytelling, but the best match to me was the triple threat. Overall, an okay show, not bad, but not great." So let's get into that because I do think that that triple threat match was. So here's the thing. One of the things that I noticed, like as we were getting closer and closer, like to the end, the crowd was a little exhausted, Robin. Like it did take them a second to get their energy back up. I do think we could have done away with one match. The match I think we could have done away with was Shinsuke Nakamura versus LA Knight. I'll get to that in a second. But the match that I think a lot of people thoroughly loved, like Chris Ludek just mentioned, was Gunther, not Gunther, Damian Priest, Braun
Braun
Breaker,
Breakker.
Sheamus, and Ludwig Kaiser. That match, that triple threat was a banger. And I think for the most part, like that's what we were expecting. I had mentioned this on my Raw promo, but post show, but to me, this was a match that I was looking forward to because it reminded me of shades of WrestleMania 39, where I knew, okay, I have a feeling that all of these guys, like they're pretty similar. And of course, Sheamus was in it, but these guys are similar where we can have a similar kind of match. And that's exactly what we got here. Of course, it wasn't like WrestleMania 39 because that one was just another level, but this one was still very, very entertaining. And the fact that people cared about what you were seeing, people even got for a second thinking that Sheamus was going to win this. Ludwig did great. Braun Breaker was, being Braun Breaker, hitting his Frankensteiner, running the ropes, just a lot of aggressiveness in this match. And I feel like that, so simple, it sold this match to a whole other caliber.
Yeah, I mean that and the final War Games match to me were the two that really stood out. And when you say what did you take away from this experience in this PLE, it's those two matches. But a few shout outs for this specific one. One to Sheamus, who when he says banger after banger after banger, he ain't kidding. We're starting to see that. Ludwig Kaiser, that spot where Sheamus had it won over Breaker and Kaiser pulled him out. The timing was exquisite. It was one of those ones where it's just like it couldn't have been timed any better. It didn't feel like, oh, they're setting this up. It was like, oh, Sheamus is gonna win. No. And he pulled him out of the ring. And then Braun Breaker's a freak. And with these guys and the way that this match was structured and set up, it allowed you to see that flying move he did onto the tables, a clothesline or whatever. That was, he's just a physical freak of nature where when he runs to the ropes, you go like, oh, like you feel that in your loins. So I think it was a great showcase for Braun Breakker, but it was a great showcase for all three guys. Constant action. I don't know if you did you see the photo of Sheamus after the match?
No, I didn't.
Oh yeah, you should pull it up if you can.
Is it on his Instagram?
I saw, man, it's one of those ones where I just saw it scrolling by. Oh yeah, it's on his X. So if you just search his name,
pulling it up right now.
It's the first thing.
Oh shit, bro!
Yeah.
All right, let me pull this up on StreamYard here. Wow. I mean, I'm not surprised. Like, I feel like Sheamus does get color very easily, but look at this, man.
He's
like his
body
guy. is beat. Yeah. His body's beat though. Look at this. Dang, like all over his back, his arms. You can even see it there in his midsection and whatnot. Wow, man. But you know what though? Match was great.
Yeah. Oh, I mean that's him saying that, right? Like that's his way of saying, you thought that match was great. This is how great it was because I put myself through that for y'all. And yeah, there's nothing else really to. It was wonderfully done. No one came out looking bad. No one came out worse for wear other than Sheamus's actual skin. And Braun Breakker gets the win in a showcase way that lets you see everything he's about. But even in the victory, again, Sheamus had it, right? Like, so it doesn't feel like it was some sort of dominant performance either. It was a well balanced triple threat.
And Braun Breakker was definitely the right person to win this. I had said this before, but I just didn't want him to have another short reign. Like, again, this is a guy that I'm expecting to see have like a big matchup at WrestleMania. We know he's destined for a very, very bright future. So I just wasn't ready to be like, hey, let's call it a day right here. Like, this is not what I wanted. So I did think it was the right outcome. All right, we got the champ 39 here who says, hey, Denise, I like the Lola Vice hairstyle. Hey, yo, thank you so much. I actually took the time to curl my hair today. I haven't curled my hair in like at least 8 months, Robin, or 6 months. Who knows? It's been like almost a whole year. And I thought, well, it's Survivor Series Wargames, so I might as well get a little extra fancy. So thank you, the champ 39. We got Bailey Darley here who says, last super chat, hope you reach 200K. Yeet. God, I hope so. We're going to try though, guys. We're going to try. And we'll see how close I get by the end of the year. Robin, I think I'm going to miss it by like 5K watch. Like 5 or 6K is probably what I'm going to miss it by, but we'll see.
We can do a drive or something. We can,
I don't know, man. I'm going to have to get like some crazy ass, like big time interview to like make that happen. And I don't know. December is kind of, it's a holiday month. People are kind of taking it easy. So we'll see. I am having WrestleMiss, so hopefully that gets some new subscribers and whatnot.
Also, if let's say you do miss it by 5. Let's just live in a universe where you miss it by. Is there really a significant difference between 195,000 and 200,000 other than how round the number looks?
I think for me, and this is kind of the annoying part is at the start of the year, I said, I'm going to hit 200K. I said this in January. I said this in December of last year.
So you're falling short of your goal.
Right. I'm falling short of my goal. But then I was like, all right, well, how about instead, if I hit it in January, I could be like, oh, what a great way to start 2025. So it'll be fine either way. It's just, I would feel so stupid if it's like I missed it by like a couple thousand. Like, damn, had I tried just a little harder throughout the year, I could have made it happen.
Well, just make it your goal for 2025, and then you're guaranteed to be satisfied.
Yeah, that's true. 2025, I will hit 200K. That's funny. Oh man. All right. We need to get into Gunther versus Damian Priest. That's the next one we got to get into here because this one, I feel like this is where the crowd was a little tired, and you definitely sensed it. I think people, given the fact that, this was a match that we've seen before. I don't know how people feel necessarily right now about Gunther and or Damian Priest, where it's like, okay, Damian Priest was just champion, so we really weren't expecting Damian Priest to win the title. I kind of felt like Gunther retaining was the predictable choice, a fine choice. That's my champion, Gunther. But I don't necessarily know that there were too many sparks heading into this actual matchup here. But the match itself, like, it wasn't bad. That's the thing. Like, I didn't think the match was bad. It was fine. There was one moment that I wasn't totally in love with, and it was towards the end where Damian Priest like threw Gunther, and then he ended up on the floor. I think it was like a camera shot that missed it. So I didn't understand how Damian Priest had gotten there. And so that disconnection kind of took me it took me out of the match for a bit. But I did love the submission finish with Gunther getting that.
Well, the crowd also was tricked or something happened because they chanted "You messed up" or "You screwed up" at
No,
Damian
they were
Priest.
chanting "You fucked up" to
Yeah,
Damian Priest, straight up.
but
Yeah.
but he didn't because he got into position for uh, Finn Balor, right? Like obviously that was where he was supposed to be. So it was
Right.
hard. To,
But the way he got there, though, did you see how he got there?
I didn't see
They
how he.
didn't show it.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
So if when the way that it looked from the viewer's perspective, it looked like Damian Priest threw himself
Yeah,
backwards for
yeah,
no
yeah.
reason. So it didn't really make sense.
Yeah, I didn't know if he fell off the ropes or what happened.
Right,
I'm
right.
not sure. So maybe, yeah, maybe it was, but he wound up in the spot. He was, so I was confused as to how that went down too. But the fact that the camera missed it was also interesting. Like it's not like they were able to avoid it that quickly. So I don't know. It's if he did mess up, it's better that the camera missed it because we never actually saw him mess up. And if he
But you
didn't
could
mess.
tell though, because it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, unless there was, yeah, I guess it's just hard to tell without being able to actually see what happened. It didn't bother me so much, I guess, because I didn't see any visual evidence of the mess up. And he, you know, here's the thing with some of these. Remember when Jade Cargill didn't hit the rope spot clean, and
Oh yeah,
everyone was
yeah.
calling it a botch? Like to me, that's not a botch. Like a botch is when you're supposed to do something you completely bungle it. Like you totally miss your spot or your cue or wherever you're at. Like that to me is she slipped. And in the belief that we are in, the suspension of disbelief that we're in these matches, sometimes that's going to happen and that's okay. Like to me even in the women's when I talk about the sloppiness of the women's war game match, I think there was one spot where Io Sky was supposed to hit a sunset power bomb and didn't, but she saved it with a series of moves afterwards. And it's believable that she could go for the sunset powerbomb and not catch it right. And just because it didn't go exactly according to plan doesn't mean it was a botch because she saved it, right? Like, and that's a natural thing that could happen. You could not hit that cleanly, just like you could slip off the ropes. So in my head, I'm thinking Damian Priest, tripped and fell or something.
Yeah, but it didn't make sense to the sequence that we were seeing. The sequence scene did not make any sense. It was almost like, all right, it's like we skipped the scene. Like, well, what happened in between there? Because how did we get there from there? And then obviously you hear the crowd chanting, "You fucked up," which they actually saw what actually happened there, and the viewer didn't. So that's the part that kind of took me out. And it's unfortunate because there have been mistakes like this in PLE matches for Damian Priest quite a bit. There was a time where the whole kick out and the timing and all of that happened. And then, like, for example, like a mistake for, like you mentioned, a different kind of a mistake is more so of like when his foot accidentally got stuck in the rope. That's a different mistake, right? That one was, more of a this is a physical sport and it's a danger. And then the other one, the one where either he didn't kick out or what the hell happened there, like that one was like a botch, the way that you were sort of explaining it, right? It's a little bit different, but regardless, that was the only part that took me out of the match just because I kind of felt like I couldn't follow where we were at that point. But Finn Balor comes in, he attacks Damian Priest, and that basically allowed Gunther to go ahead and get his win here. So again, Gunther retains World Heavyweight Championship. Happy to see it because I still think that there's more that can be done there with Gunther. Plus, we had already come off of a Damian Priest win, so I wasn't really expecting a title to change hands there. But another match that we need to get into, which I did not love, was Shinsuke Nakamura and LA Knight. I didn't love this because I didn't think it was a good match. I thought that this was not a pay-per-view quality match. I thought it kind of killed the crowd. And also, if you were going to have a title change, it should have been in a match that was freaking exciting, not in a match where everybody was just like, and I don't blame anybody for just having that blank stare because there wasn't really anything to react to, unfortunately. And so the Shinsuke Nakamura LA Knight match for me just did not hit in any sort of facet.
Well, look, LA Knight has, to me, never been the best in-ring performer, but I think he's made strides in that direction as his popularity, in the positive direction, as his popularity has ascended. but I don't recall still like a great LA Knight match. And then I've never really gotten Shinsuke Nakamura. I know he's been like a cult hero and internet wrestling fan guy for the longest time. Never been quite my cup of tea, but I'll say this for it. Um, they repackaged him a little bit, brought him back as this fearsome guy, and if he was just going to be built up to be fed to LA Knight again, his career as a WWE performer who can be taken seriously is over. So if you wanted Shinsuke Nakamura to matter, he needed to win that match for whatever their plans are with him. What this means for LA Knight, I don't know. I agree with you. It was a mid match at best, but I'll at least not come away with a complete bad taste in my mouth because I'm curious what they do with LA Knight next. And if they were ever going to have future plans for Shinsuke Nakamura, he had to win that match because otherwise, it's a joke. Otherwise, I said Jobber Nakamura before. That's what he would be because every time he'd be in a big match, he would lose. And to come back the way he did this time and then lose again that quickly to LA Knight, it would have been the end for him.
I think sort of the saving grace in here is the new character direction in which they're going with Shinsuke Nakamura. Because if we were still seeing the same old Shinsuke Nakamura that we had been seeing, who had been treated like a kind of like he'd been to the mid to low card for the longest time. So that guy defeating LA Knight would not have been good whatsoever. But again, my whole thing is okay, fine. I wasn't crazy about the idea of Shinsuke Nakamura defeating LA Knight, but let's just say, fine, I'm good with that idea. At least the match should have hit. The match should have hit. There should have been, the moment where you start to get hyped up of like, oh shit, the build up to, hey, I think Shinsuke Nakamura might actually win here. That moment where you start to, get up from your seat and you're like, all right, I'm starting to think that things are changing here. We never got that moment in this match. We never did. And so when he actually won, it was just kind of like, it fell flat. It completely fell flat. And the crowd was just like, what the hell just happened here? So I wasn't a fan of the matchup. And because I wasn't a fan of the matchup, I wasn't a fan of Nakamura defeating LA Knight here.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to push back too hard on that. I do think it was the only way to salvage Nakamura going forward. But I think when you had the first match and it didn't quite land to me at least for the first half of it, and then you had that one, it didn't set the tone that great for the rest of the festivities until you got the
It
triple
took
threat match.
people out of the show for a
Yeah.
bit. Like that triple threat match brought people back.
Yeah, no, it did. And to me, it was a 2.5 match card for me, more or less. But those were very, very strong. And I don't know. Where does LA Knight go from here? I guess that's an interesting query and question because he got so popular, and you wondered what was going to happen with him. And now that he loses the U.S. title, is the chase for him more exciting? Is that why? I mean, I just it a lot of it felt a little odd just because Nakamura just came back. LA Knight had been built to get that title. The match itself wasn't great. So yeah, I'm not going to sit here and cape for it.
I don't know, man. I have a feeling they're probably going to keep running this to the ground until we get them. They're probably going to just put the title back on LA Knight. I don't know. I guess it depends on how they feel. I mean, this wasn't a good start. This was not a good start to Shinsuke Nakamura's reign. So we'll see how that goes. I guess they'll test out the waters and kind of go from there and see whether or not the belt should remain with Shinsuke, maybe go back to LA Knight, or hell, go in an entirely new, different direction, because I don't know who's next right now for LA Knight. I do think that there's obviously they had the whole thing with Santos, they had the thing with Andrade. So maybe you can kind of play in that direction. You still got Carmelo Hayes. And I know these are all people that were sort of like in and out of this title picture, but you can probably make something a little bit more concrete there. So I'll see what they do with that. And then as for Shinsuke Nakamura, same thing. He's kind of playing with the exact same players that they have right now in that scene. So we do have, let me see. This is from Saif Din Super, who says, he says Dominic for Intercontinental Champion, Carmella for US, I think. I mean, I don't know, man. Dominic has gotten himself over, but I think right now with Brom Breakker holding that Intercontinental Championship, we're kind of good on that end. For the US Championship, hell, you never know. I think that one can move around a little bit more.
I don't hate Carmelo Hayes for that. That makes sense. But I also, I mean, I think Dominic's a future world heavyweight champion. I mean, I think he's so over that, and the heat is so hot for him that it's a, you got to capitalize on that while he's still in this growing phase of his career. Now you can take your time to get there, but if you were telling me to bet yes or no, Dominic Mysterio is going to hold one of the big belts, and I believe that firmly.
Yeah, yeah. And as for Carmelo, yeah, dude will get there. Dude will get there. Saeed done super. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Alrighty. So I think we covered everything on this show. Did I miss anything? No, that was it, right?
I
It
don't
feels
think so.
weird, right? Like I feel
Yeah.
like I was missing something. Like there was something else to talk about, but no, that's literally it, everybody. That was Survivor Series War Games. So of course, match of the night, or rather matches of the night, were for Robin. It was the triple threat and the men's. For me, it was the triple threats, the women's and the men's. So overall, I had a good time with the women's War Games match. I did have a good time with that. But that's it, guys. All right, before we go, just a friendly reminder that tomorrow I am officially beginning a WrestleMass. So for those of you who do not know, again, December 1st through December 31st, I am going to be dropping a daily video here on the channel. And then December 2nd, this Monday, I officially bring the Raw post show here to the channel. It'll be myself and Santi Zap hosting that. So make sure you guys come in and check that out. I can't wait to spend Mondays with everybody here on the post show. Robin, what do you got going on?
You can check out my YouTube channel, Robin Lundberg. Also, Women's Fast Break on SI covering women's basketball over there. I tell Raj I plug his channel. It's Raj-Talk, Raj Talk, and he does a lot of wrestling stuff over there. He also usually gives the matches a star rating after each match, and will build up as it's going along and look at me and get my feedback. So to back up some of what you said, Denise, he gave Shinsuke and LA Knight 3 stars, which is a very low score on his end. He gave the triple threat and the men's war game 5 stars. He gave the women's war games 4 stars, and I think he gave Gunther and Damian Priest 3.5 stars. So right around where we were.
Not bad. I was gonna say not bad. I'm liking his rating system. It's great. Alrighty, everyone. That's it for us. Make sure to give Robin Lundberg some love. Of course, the links are in the description box below. As always, thank you guys so much. And I will be back here again next week for a full slate of shows. So I'll see you guys then. Bye, everyone.
He